ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ। ਗੋਬਿੰਦੇ ਮੁਕੰਦੇ ਉਦਾਰੇ ਅਪਾਰੇ ਹਰੀਅੰ ਕਰੀਅੰ ਨਿਰਨਾਮੇ ਅਕਾਮੇ ਗੋਬਿੰਦੇ ਮੁਕੰਦੇ ਉਦਾਰੇ ਅਪਾਰੇ ਹਰੀਅੰ ਕਰੀਅੰ ਨਿਰਨਾਮੇ ਅਕਾਮੇ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। Maharaj Kripa. In the last class, we started the Adhyay 16th, which was covering that what is mukti, what is bondage. Obviously, we have discussed this before, and just to do a bit of recap, that it is the mind that thinks it's in bondage. And thus, because when the mind experiences itself in bondage, in bandhan, it seeks freedom. Have you ever noticed that in general, everyone is seeking freedom, everyone is seeking peace? Nobody says that I want to be uh, in prison of thoughts, in prison of time, in prison of work. That's why we seek financial freedom too, because the very nature of mind knows that it has to be free. That wisdom is already there. That's why the mind seeks that. It wants to be, which we call as to be in its true self. But because of lack of understanding, because we don't go to Guru Sahib, we don't spend time with Guru Bani, the truth that is actually going to enlighten the mind, we spend time in those things that are so temporary. And then we wonder that why our desires are not getting fulfilled. I don't know about you, but from my personal experience in life, I have come across many people from different backgrounds, and yet, no matter how much wealth they have, how much they have attained, whatever age they are, even if let's say they are in old age, they still have these desires. Then the fear of death comes when the body, obviously we get closer to the death, we start realizing that the things that we chased all our life were no longer important. But when we are at a young age, we don't think about it. We don't think about death. We don't like talking about death. But the truth is, Gurbani, Ved Shastra, they clearly speak about death. They say, how about you actually understand what death is? And why not just die while you are in the body? So you never have to experience death. Now, this is such a beautiful thing. And it's not something like Kabir ji said, Jis marne te jag dare, mere man anand. That death that the world is really scared of, I am in bliss because of that death. Now, does this mean that only Kabirji had that opportunity to experience it, to be that bliss? Or do everyone has that opportunity? The truth is, whether you're religious, whether you're man, whether you're female, whether whatever class you think you belong to, whatever language you speak, doesn't have to be Punjabi, doesn't have to be Gurmukhi, doesn't have to be English. Whatever language you speak, you have the opportunity to be that bliss what Kabirji was in. Any Bhagat that the Bhagats, the bliss that they were in, you have that opportunity as well. So, in that way, Maharaj is talking about that the mind is either always like chasing after desires. And because it doesn't know that there is no end to these desires, because the temporary things, the mind is constantly looking outwardly, chasing the temporary things. And when the things itself does not have their own, when the very essence of things, when we don't understand what's causing those things, obviously the mind is not able to stay still. So Mara says, as long as there are desires, the sansar is going to exist. So what it means is the very manifestation, the very sansar, as we have discussed, there are two ways to understand it. It means sansar, the doubt that the world that we perceive is something else and not Akal Purakh, not consciousness itself. But Gurbani says the world that you're actually seeing is nothing else but it's Harka Roop. It's the very essence of the same divine consciousness. But because of agyanta, misunderstanding, you think this world is my friends, my family, people I like, people I don't like, all these subdivisions. Someone is an Indian, someone is an Australian, someone is American, European. All these divisions have been created because of lack of understanding. That's why Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj says that recognize the whole human race as one. He basically said, can you stop dividing the human beings, first of all? So in that way, Mara says, Jo sansar birkh da ankur hai. So the desires is the one that causes everything to happen. Let's say you have a desire of something, and that is the very seed of that's going to manifest itself. ਜੀਵਤ ਹੈ ਤਦ ਤੱਕ ਤਿਆਗਣ ਯੋਗ ਜਾਂ ਗ੍ਰਹਿਣ ਕਰਨ ਯੋਗ ਦੀ ਭਾਵਨਾ ਬਣੀ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ. So as long as someone has desires, the mind has desires in it, it wants to experience one thing or it doesn't want to experience another thing. So how the mind works is, let's say you meet this person or you go out and you socialize with your workmates or anyone and even a stranger. Let's say that person says something that's not very nice or they do something that's not actually very nice. What you will notice is the mind will not want to experience that again. So, what the mind does is then it wants to protect itself from that particular scenario again. And in that way, it will either run away from that if the mind is not, obviously, we're not physically able to move ourselves from that situation. The mind goes into a freeze mode. It just goes numb. And that's what the whole trauma is about as well. And let's say you go to one of your favorite events. It could be anything, whatever you like, you find attractive. The mind would want to grasp that more of that. That's why when people go on holidays, they want to experience it more because the mind liked that thing. And that's exactly what Gurbani is saying, that can you start practicing having samvirti? Samvirti means to see a good day with the same experience and to see this bad thing as the same as well. What it means is wherever you are, can you actually within yourself be completely in sahaj equilibrium without having the outwardly effect of it reach you? So what it means is, let's say you're having uh, you come across in a experience that the mind does not like. Again, this does not mean that if you're in danger, you shouldn't get yourself out of there. It's talking about a very inner journey. So what it means is, can you be fully, completely be present with that emotion, with that experience, without wanting another experience? So Mara says, as long as there are desires, the mind is always going to either chase one experience and not want something in that way. So निश्चित रूप which यह विवेकहीन दशा है. And this is clearly vivekhin means that the lack of Vivek Buddhi. So the Vivek, it means that the ability to intellectualize, the ability to understand from Sat, truth and falsehood. So the ability to navigate that what's really happening. That's what the Vivek is. Maharaj says that because of those desires, you're not able to have this wisdom within yourself. ਤ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨਾਗ੍ਰਸਤ ਹੋਣ ਕਰਕੇ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦਾ ਸਾਰ ਤੱਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਛਾਣਦਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਲੋਭੀ ਮਨ ਥਿਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਅਤੇ ਚਾਰ ਚੁਫੇਰੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤਿਆਗਣ ਯੋਗ ਜਾਂ ਗ੍ਰਹਿਣ ਕਰਨ ਯੋਗ ਪਦਾਰਥਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਖੋਜਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਤ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨਾ ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਹੋ ਸਕੇ So the mind is always wandering in after different pleasures, objects. It could be anything. Now, because we don't know the essence, as we have discussed before, the mind experiences peace after getting something is because it became still. But because we don't know what's causing that peace, we think that it's because of that object. So when same way this cycle continues happening, ਤ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨਾ ਭੁੱਖ ਉਤਰਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਤੇ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਦੁਖੀ ਹੋ ਸਕੇ ਹੋ where did it go ਸ਼ਾਂਤ ਹੋ ਸਕੇ ਤ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨਾ ਭੁੱਖ ਉਤਰਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਅਤੇ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਦੁਖੀ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਭਟਕਦਾ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ so the mind is always we are always constantly chasing the next pleasure. But in that way, that's why the most uttam desire, when we do ardas as well, we say in ardas, we say to bless us with the Namdan, Dana Sirdan Namdan. So the Namdan is the Nam is the very Padarth. Gurbani talks about that there is this precious, very, you can't put price on this thing. There is a very precious essence of who you are within yourself that if why don't you ask for that? It's okay, you're asking for other things. Bhagats have asked for simple food, shelter, clothing. There is nothing wrong in that. But Maharaj is saying, how about alongside you ask for this thing that's going to quench all your desires? So if you have whatever wealth, any amount of, you're not going to be able to buy this thing. And that's why we go to Gurdwara, we spend time with Sangat, we spend time with Gurbani so that we can get this Naam Padarat as well. ਇਹ ਭਾਵ ਤਦ ਤੱਕ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਦ ਤੱਕ ਤ੍ਰਿਸ਼ਨਾ ਜੀਵਤ ਰਹਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ. So, as long as the desires are there, the mind is going to wander around. Now, the question comes, how does a Brahmajnani live in this world? Does it mean they don't have a desire? The short answer is they do not have any desire. They just are in a state of which is called equilibrium, which is called sahaj, that whatever is happening naturally through the body, they are simply observing it. It's not their desire anymore. It's the desire that has been planted in the mind already. So because Brahmajnani is only one present within himself in the whole world, he knows that the desires that's coming through him is just the consciousness playing through him. So they are not his desires anymore. ਇਹ ਭਾਵਨਾ ਹੀ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਬਿਰਖ ਦਾ ਬੀਜ ਹੈ. So the desires is the very root cause of the sansar that we experience. ਵਿਵੇਕਸ਼ੀਲ ਇਸ ਭਾਵ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਵੀ ਹੈ ਮਿਟ ਜਾਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾ ਮੋਹ ਅਰਥਾਤ ਕੁਝ ਗ੍ਰਹਿਣ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਇੱਛਾ. So the person who has the Vivek Buddhi, this very fine intellect, that whatever they are perceiving is temporary. They know the body is just a play, just has been formed in the consciousness. They know everything is temporary apart from the very essence of who they are. So in that way, they don't attach themselves to anything. ਨਾ ਦਵੈਸ਼ ਅਰਥਾਤ ਤਿਆਗ ਦਾ ਭਾਵ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ nor they want to not experience one thing. Whatever happens in Sahaj, they are absolutely at peace within themselves. So their thoughts become the thoughts of direct thoughts of Akal Purukh himself. ਸੰਸਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਨਿਰਲੇਪ ਰਹਿ ਕੇ ਵਿਚਰਦਾ ਹੈ and that Mahan Purush remains as completely detached from the world within himself. Doesn't mean they run away in the jungles or anywhere. It just means they are wherever they are. Doesn't matter whether they are in satsangat or they are at work or in any social events. They are fully detached within themselves because they have remained, they are still in their own Atam Sarup. ਪ੍ਰਵਿਰਤੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਾਗ ਉਪਜਦਾ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਨਵਰਿੱਤੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਿਸ਼ਚੇ ਦੀ ਦਵੈਸ਼ ਪ੍ਰਵਿਰਤੀ ਮਾਰਗ ਵਿਨਾਸ਼ ਵੱਲ ਲਿਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੋਹ ਰਾਗ ਉਪਜਦਾ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਮੋਹ ਗ੍ਰਸਤ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਦੀ ਸੂਝ-ਬੂਝ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਵਰਿੱਤੀ ਮਾਰਗ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਗਣ ਦਾ ਮਾਰਗ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਤਿਆਗਿਆ ਉਹ ਹੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਚੰਗਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਸੋ this is discussing about having an connection, having the attachment to certain things. As we discussed before, let's say for a person, let's say you find yourself attached to someone or something. So what you would want to do is you would want to spend more time with that person. So that's what parvirti means, that you would want to spend more time there. Now, again, this is important when we go to satsangat. It's okay to wanting to spend more time there because that is the only way, one of the ways that we are going to get the gyan. So when we like someone, when we find ourselves attached to someone, we want to spend more time with that person or that thing or with that experience. And in that way, when we don't like something, we want to avoid that. We want to isolate ourselves from that thing. Jo changa nahi lagda, that which we don't like. So something that we enjoy, we want to do more. It could be your favorite food, favorite song, favorite movie, anything. The mind wants to experience it more. Something that you don't like, we don't want to experience it. ਇਹ ਦਵੈਸ਼ ਇਹ ਦਵੈਸ਼ ਦੀ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨੀ ਹੈ so Maharaj said this is what duality is, to want one thing over another. ਰਾਗ ਦਵੈਸ਼ ਦੇ ਦਵੰਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਇੱਕ ਸਧਾਰਨ ਸੰਸਾਰੀ ਦੀ ਜੀਵਤ ਯਾਤਰਾ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਹੈ so Maharaj is saying most of us we are living in this duality. Buddhiman Vyakti. So notice how Maharaj is calling Buddhiman to those who are actually practicing this truth. Maharaj doesn't say you are an intelligent being if you have this qualification, these and these certificates. The truth is actually that is the highest form of intelligence is that which actually can understand the truth. So Maharaj says that intelligent being ਦੋਹਾਂ ਮਾਰਗਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਪਛਾਣਦਾ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਇੱਕ ਬਾਲਕ ਦੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੋਹਾਂ ਮਾਰਗਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਪਹਿਚਾਣਦਾ ਹੈ ਪਰ ਇੱਕ ਬਾਲਕ ਦੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਵੰਦਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਮੁਕਤ ਇਸ ਭਾਵ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਚਰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੇ ਰਾਖੇ ਸੋਈ ਸੁਖ ਥਾਨਾ ਸਹਜੇ ਹੋਏ ਸੋਈ ਭਲ ਮਾਨਾ ਜਿਸ sorry, I can't say the word. It means situation which ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ ਉਸੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਸੰਤੁਸ਼ਟ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਜੋ ਸਹਿਜ ਭਾਵ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਰਤ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਹੀ ਉਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਉੱਤਮ ਹੈ so Maharaj says a very wise person actually does not follow these both ways. He knows that whatever the mind likes it, that's how the mind has been programmed. So in that way, he does not get entangled into wanting more of one particular experience, one particular food, one particular person, or wants to run away from one experience. So wherever they are in the very moment, they remain completely content. Now, it's easy to talk about this, but this is such a profound thing that Maharaj is talking about. And that's exactly over and over Guru Sahib, all the Avatari Purkh have actually done in a very practical way. Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj, when he sat on that hot plate, he did not, at that very moment, he very well knew what was happening. And because he knew that this was just a play going on, and he was still in his Atam Sarup, he was, despite having all that experience, he was in bliss. It means within himself, he was in so much sahaj, in so much acceptance of that very present moment that he did not feel the pain. Even though the body would be burning, he himself, within himself, did not feel the pain. That is the power of the truth. So, in that way, Mara says they remain satisfied in wherever situation they are being put into. And whatever happens in that Sahaj Bhav, that just comes through the body of a Brahmagyani. ਰਾਗੀ ਦੁੱਖ ਸਲੋਕ ਰਾਗੀ ਦੁੱਖ ਤੋਂ ਬਚਣ ਲਈ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਤਿਆਗਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ. So a person who is emotional, caught up in the emotions, they don't want to experience sadness. So then they avoid that certain situations or world, and that's what causing depression as well, because we feel nobody understands us and we want to run away from the world, thinking that if I isolate myself, that's gonna protect me. ਜੋ ਰਾਗ ਦਵੈਸ਼ ਤੋਂ ਪਰੇ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਨਿਸ਼ਚੈ ਹੀ ਦੁੱਖ ਮੁਕਤ ਹੈ. And the person who is completely has eradicated duality from his mind. And how did they do it? They did it by abhyas of Gurbani, by abhyas of Sat. They within themselves surrendered themselves to this profound wisdom. They surrendered themselves everything which Gurbani says, Tan Man Tan Sab Somp Gur Ko. So within themselves, they practice this complete surrender and they spend time with this truth through Sadh Sangat, by talking to other Brahmagyanis, by talking to Gurbani. So in that way, they have, after doing the Bhyas, they have attained that non-dual state of mind. ਉਹ ਉਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਅਰਥਾਤ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਖੇਦ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ. Now, because that person has eradicated duality within themselves, even if they are engaging with the world, they do not experience dukh anymore, as if the dukh disappointment from the world has been completely eradicated. Salok, ਜਿਸ ਦਾ ਮੋਕਸ਼ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਉਮੈ ਭਾਵ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਮੇਰਾਪਨ ਦਾ ਭਾਵ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਨਾ ਯੋਗੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਗਿਆਨੀ, ਉਹ ਕੇਵਲ ਦੁੱਖ ਦਾ ਭਾਗੀਦਾਰ ਹੈ. ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਧਾਰਮਿਕ ਗ੍ਰੰਥਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਗਿਆਨ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਇਸ ਅਹੰਕਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਉਣ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਮੋਖ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤੀ ਦਾ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਹਾਂ, ਉਹ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਿਣਿਆ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ. ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਨੂੰ ਗਿਆਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਰਬ ਕੀ ਰੇਨ ਹੋਵੀਜੈ ਆਪ ਮਿਟਾਏ ਮਿਲੀਜੈ. So Maharaj says, even if you come to the Sangat, even if you spend time with Gurbani, even if you can read millions of Granths, you can ratamar, you can know every pankti by your heart, that does not make you Gyani. Because what's happening is you're going to get again more and more entangled into with this thought that you know that all. So that sense of superiority will be born from there. So Maharaj says that person who thinks that they have got the Brahmagyan, they haven't actually. Because for a Brahmagyani, they even, a state will come where they even do tyag of Brahmagyan. So in that way, Maharaj says that when you start taking pride of the granths that you read, the knowledge that you accumulate, and you think you are somehow better or you know it all, you actually haven't eradicated the home, because you haven't understood that this wisdom was always here. Like Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj said, Aad Sach, Jugad Sach, Hai Pi Sach, Nanak Hosi Pi Sach. So this wisdom, like Akal Purkh Maharaj, is always present from all the yug. So to think or to say that I have attained it, I have understood it, is just another form of ahankar. And somehow, believe it or not, this is going to give more dukh, because there is still agyanta. So Mara says that person always remains humble within themselves. They never say that it's them doing. Within themselves, they have understood the play. However, when they talk to the Sadh Sangat, they always give credit to their Guru, because they know it is the Guru who has the power to awaken the mind. They did not do it themselves. ਗਿਆਨੀ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਰੀਰ ਮਾਇਆ ਦੀ ਖੇਡ ਹੈ. So the Gyani knows that I'm not this body and it's just a play going on. It's a temporary form that has been formed, and one day it's going to get destroyed. ਅਤੇ ਝੂਠ ਹੈ ਪਰੰਤੂ ਅਗਿਆਨੀ ਮਿਥਿਆ ਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਸੱਚੀ ਸਮਝਦਾ ਹੈ. So an agyani person thinks that I am this body and this is going to remain forever. And ਇਹ ਵੀ ਮੰਨਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਮੇਰਾ ਤਨ ਅਰ ਧਨ ਮੇਰਾ, that this body and this wealth that I'm accumulating is mine. So ਇਸ ਦੇ ਉਲਟ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਉਹ ਹੈ ਆਪਣ ਤਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਕੋ ਗਰਬਾ, ਜਿਸ ਦਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਆਪਣਾਪਨ ਨਹੀਂ. So Gyani is that who actually does not have this attachment to the body anymore. That's why so many Mahapurukhs, avatars, they were not reluctant to attain Shahidi. They did not even have any fear of letting go of the body because they knew who they were. ਉਸ ਦਾ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤਨ ਮਨ ਸਭ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦੇ ਹਨ. So the Gyani has complete faith, this understanding that the body, the mind belongs to Sat Chit Anand Paramatma itself. ਦੇਹ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਮਤਾ ਰੱਖਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ. Those who are attached to the body, they cannot be called as a Gyani. So here Maharaj explains clearly what a Gyani is. Not someone who just wears certain clothes, who belongs to certain religion. A Gyani is a Mahapurukh who actually knows the very essence of who he is within himself. And he has that wisdom within himself that's continuously flowing. And that they have this knowledge that they can enlighten the others as well. ਉਹ ਜੋਗੀ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜੋਗੀ ਜੁਗਤ ਸਹਿਜ ਕਰਵਾਸੇ, ਜੋਗੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਹਿਜ ਸਰੂਪ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਦੇਹ ਤੋਂ ਬੇਖਬਰ, ਨਿਸ਼ਚੇ ਹੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਮੁਕਤੀ ਦਾ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀ ਮੰਨਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਅਤੇ ਦੇਹ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਮਤਾ ਰੱਖਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਨਾ ਗਿਆਨੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਜੋਗੀ, ਉਹ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦੇ ਦੁੱਖ ਸੁੱਖ ਭੋਗਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਸਧਾਰਨ ਸੰਸਾਰੀ ਹੈ. Maharaj says that even that person is not a yogi. So yogi, Maharaj explains in Gurbani, there is a pankti, Maharaj clearly explains what a yogi is. A yogi is not someone who sits in samadhi, in that lotus pose and is playing around with the chakras or the kundalini awakening. That's again just in agyanta. We want to experience an extraordinary thing. So Gurbani explains what a yogi is: the one who remains nirlep, in a very, very sahaj avastha within himself, and he is the only one that's present in the world within himself. That Atam, he has recognized the Atam Sach, and he remains as that. Salok. ਭਾਵੇਂ ਬ੍ਰਹਮਾ ਵਿਸ਼ਨੂੰ ਜਾਂ ਮਹੇਸ਼ ਵੀ ਤੇਰੇ ਉਪਦੇਸ਼ਕ ਹੋਣ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਸਭ ਭੁੱਲਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਤੇਰੀ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਸਵੈ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ। ਜਿਸ ਉਪਦੇਸ਼ ਨਾਲ ਇਸ ਅਧਿਆਇ ਦਾ ਆਰੰਭ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ, ਉਸੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਸ ਦੀ ਸਮਾਪਤੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਨ। ਪਹਿਲੇ ਸ਼ਲੋਕ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਦ ਤੱਕ ਧਰਮ ਗ੍ਰੰਥਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕੀਤੇ ਹੋਏ ਕਿਤਾਬੀ ਗਿਆਨ ਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਭੁੱਲੇਗਾ, ਤੇਰੀ ਨਿੱਜ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਥਿਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣੀ। ਹੁਣ ਵੀ ਉਸੇ ਗੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਦੁਹਰਾਇਆ ਹੈ। So Maharaj is saying this is the state of when we go to Sadh Sangat. We spend time with this wisdom. When we read Granth. And suddenly, while we are doing it, that's exactly what's happening. We start getting attached to those religious books, to the scriptures, to the Granth. Maharaj says, when a Brahmagyani has realized their Atam Sarup, to them they have become the wisdom root itself. What it means is they don't have any particular interest in one Granth as well. So Maharaj says, first of all, you have to come across this wisdom. The theoretical wisdom they are talking about, that you have to come across this theory, the knowledge that's been accumulated. But you have to let go of that as well. Eventually, you can't keep on getting attached to that as well, because then you think one granth is better than the other, and that's when in agyanta we fight with each other. We think Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj has this sat, other granths do not have that. Or those who are the worshippers, or those who have interest in Bhagavad Gita, they think that the gyan is only in Bhagavad Gita, and it's not anywhere else. So that's why Maharaj says you have to let go of that as well. Starva Adhyay, Asli Gyani. So in Maharaj Kripa, we will take Vishram here. We'll keep it short and sweet. In this, just to wrap up, as clearly Maharaj has explained who a Gyani is not. And who is a Gyani, then Maharaj will explain in the next Adhyaya as well. So, Maharaj Kirpa, we will take a pause here. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.